Today, we're going to talk about a little bit more of a somber topic than we usually talk about on this channel. We cover financial issues, particularly around long-term care, but today we wanted to talk about how to stop your kids from throwing you in a welfare nursing home. And by that, we mean Medicaid and that kind of thing. But we have some thoughts on this, but it's also, we didn't do a big, plan on this video. We just wanted to chat about some of the situations we run into personally and professionally.
Yeah, it's a topic that it's not fun to think about, but as we age, when people slow down, there could become a point where it's not feasible for you to stay with your kids. It's not feasible for you to stay at home. So you might have to go to a nursing home. It could be a physical need or it could be a financial need because a lot of people, even though they might give away their assets to their kids in preparation to qualify for welfare, um, in order to get the Medicaid system to pay for it, you have to go to a nursing home. Even though you might physically not require a nursing home, might not be an invalid, you might just need help getting around the house. Medicaid is not going to pay for that. So, what to your point, Drew? Some people they might just artificially fast forward their parents and put them in the nursing home just to save the inheritance.
Yeah, and like we did do a little bit of kind of pre-planning on this. It's sort of like the dark side of human emotion that we've actually experienced a little bit personally ourselves. And it's not necessarily fun to talk about, but we've both had parents in nursing homes before, and at some point you kind of start, you can't help it. You almost start thinking selfishly about your future and, that not necessarily the inheritance, but the future of how you're going to handle the situation with your parents that you're certainly not, you haven't been thinking about this a lot before you kind of get hit with it.
Yeah, because it's almost times have changed. It used to be, there'd be, you know, the husband would work and then the wife could be home to take care of the kids and grandma if she was living there. But like now, it's often where both the husband and wife are working, they have
Yeah,
kids.
good
They
point.
try their best to, help mom and dad out. But when it gets to the point where mom or dad is really incapacitated, they're needing help with their bills, maybe even ambulating around the house, preparing food shopping, it just becomes a lot to keep up with your own family plus your parents. And that's where, you know, having a plan, planning ahead yourself, that's going to take that uncomfortable decision your kids might have to make away from them. It'll put the control back on you where you can stay at home as long as you want because you plan for needing long-term care.
Yeah, I mean, and back to, your the viewers' kids when that time comes and you might need long-term care in the future, you get this like sort of emotional fatigue at some point. Your mom was in a nursing home or not a nursing, well, she was in everything, but how
Yeah.
her care was like, how many years did it go by and you start feeling that fatigue, right?
Yeah, it was 2006 to really 2019. So I mean it's like 12, 13 years. And I think 10 of the 13 years, it was mainly at home for home health care. Now, she was in and out of the hospital for various surgeries. But yeah, I just saw it just take an emotional toll on my dad. I mean, he was kind of helping out, and she had long-term care insurance.
Well, that's why she was able to
Um,
stay home for so long because that
it
insurance
was,
was,
it was, yeah, because yeah, if they didn't have that, their assets would have been gone probably in year five. But the fact that she did have the long-term care insurance, it enabled her to stay at home for 10 years. It got to the point where we couldn't physically move her. That's why we had to put her to the assisted living facility. We
yeah.
didn't thankfully have to put her in the nursing home, but she didn't want to go to the assisted living facility. But my dad physically couldn't move her at that point.
Well, and the reason why I wanted to kind of talk about this
Yeah.
sort of darker side a little bit, sort of explore it, is because I think a lot of people that find themselves with a parent like your mom, like my dad in a nursing home, um, they, you kind of start having these weird thoughts that are totally natural and normal, but feel like, you've never been put in a position to where you feel like you're now the parent of a child, essentially. It's just a lot of different things going on there.
Yeah, life goes full circle too, and your parents, you kind of feel guilty because your parents they raised you, they took care of you from when you're a baby to when you're 22, and it's like you feel obligated to take care of because now that they need help, it's kind of the right thing to do. But it's just everybody's financial situation is different, and some kids aren't responsible enough.
Right.
There might not be money there, and so the goal of this video is just to get you thinking about like, hey, what's your plan? And really to keep you out of the nursing home, whether it's private pay, have set aside some money so you can pay for it yourself, get the insurance, or have a conversation with your kids and figure out what you're going to do.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's we're trying to step into the shoes of your kids 20, 30 years down the road when you need long-term care and you haven't planned ahead. They're going to be throwing a lot of them are going to be throwing their parents in the nursing homes for a variety of reasons. Like you say, some of them aren't responsible enough, but even well-meaning kids, one of the things that we were talking about is like you got the family farm or the family lake house or any other assets that you want to protect. If you don't have a plan, you got to start moving things out of mom and dad's names so they can go to that Medicaid nursing home. And that's a hard decision to make because it's like, yeah, we're moving the lake house into our name, but now we're putting them in a welfare nursing home.
I know. And there's probably most of the kids out there are going to do the right thing, but there's probably going to be some kids who might opt to, you get the angel and devil on the shoulder. They might be looking at that inheritance and say, hey, I want that lake house. I want that, IRA. I don't want the mom and dad to spend that on a nursing home or on home health care. Let's go. Let's kind of encourage her to go to the nursing home. So most kids won't do that, admittedly, but there probably are some kids who would pick money over their parents.
I mean, it's again, that's that emotional fatigue. So
Yeah.
let's say, your kids have their own lives going on, maybe, healthy, happy family, but work stress, whatever. Mom and dad need long-term care is just one more thing where it's like they're not necessarily looking for the easy button, but at the same
Yeah.
time, they may not make the same decisions they would make if we step back from things and plan ahead. So, like you said, we'll kind of start working towards the title of this video, which is how to stop them from throwing you in a welfare nursing home. And like you said, the default for most people is just self-insure. Just put the money in the bank, put a couple 100,000 in the bank in the safe place where it won't get destroyed by a stock market crash, etc. That's what most people do.
Yeah, and that's a decent way to do it because you want to have this money kind of earmarked for like another, we had the 2007 crash where the market was down 30%. We had the COVID flash crash. We had 2022 when the market was, I think the S&P was down 30%. We want to make sure whatever money you've earmarked for this is protected. So putting it in something like a CD, getting 5%. But there's other products, more sophisticated products for our slightly higher net worth clients where your money's protected and it's indirectly indexed to indexes like the S&P or the NASDAQ. So, it gives you a shot at getting a double digit return because the compounding difference on $100,000 getting 5% compound over 20 years versus 11%, it's probably fivefold.
Yeah.
So, you want to have this money really working for you. And so that's products we help our clients who do want to self-insure. You can look at some type of equity index annuities. You're still protected on the downside, but there's a good upside potential. And there are some even annuities that will, if you need long-term care, they'll either double the income or they give a 25% bonus on the account on the account value if you take it as an income. So there's various products out there that you could also do. And of course, if you want to tell them about Drew, just the traditional hybrid long-term care insurance, how does that work?
Yeah. And after we get off this call in just a minute, I've got a Zoom call with a younger gentleman, and he is going to put about $50,000 into a hybrid long-term care plan. He is in his early 50s. And this particular plan, by the time he is up there around age 80, his long-term care benefit is going to have grown to right at a million, just a little bit less than $1 million. So he's taking 50,000 now, and he's actually going to pay it over 10 years, by the way, 5,000 a year for 10 years. Put in 50,000, have almost a million should he need long-term care in the future. And the beauty and the reason why a lot of CPAs buy this is because that growth inside your long-term care benefit is tax free. So if he just saved $50,000 and somehow grew it to a million over that time period, which would be pretty tough to do, but let's say he did it, he's going to have capital gains on $950,000. What's the tax bill on that? 150 grand, something like that.
And that's in today's tax dollars, with the national debt being $35 trillion, odds are those capital gains taxes going to be a lot higher in the future when he goes to take it out.
Yeah, so there's, I guess and we actually, you and I both had a code Zoom call with another client 2 days ago, where we might do both. We might do a little bit in one bucket A and a little bit in bucket B to kind of diversify, just that little piece of his assets to cover the long term care, so he doesn't get thrown in a welfare nursing home by his kids.
Yeah, yeah, and just to put a little bow on what you just said, there's no if you have a husband and or wife, there's no reason you have to do the same thing. I just had a conversation with a gentleman in Tennessee where he has diabetes, he has some heart issues, he's a little bit overweight. Statistically, he's probably going to die of a heart attack,
Yep.
pretty quickly. Whereas his wife, she's 5'5", 130 pounds, but there is a dementia risk in her family.
uh,
So statistically speaking, the wife in most situations is going to be the one who's going to need care for years and years and years. So in his case, he's thinking, well, maybe I'll just self-insure the risk with that equity index annuity, and then maybe get the hybrid policy that you spoke of for my wife, because she statistically is a lot more likely to need
I know people
the long
almost
term
feel
care.
guilty. I run into that all the time too. People almost feel guilty when they're doing one for their spouse, but not for them. And I'm like, it's okay to target your risk. I mean, like you always say, you know
Yeah,
your
that's
health better than
smart. Yeah,
anybody. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah, it's just smart financial planning, because I mean, if you have a risk, you go to a nursing home. 90% of the people who live there are women, so
yeah.
that's kind of tells you something just anecdotally right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. So, to tie it all up, basically, like you want to have a plan that you put together in your 50s or 60s at the latest, not something that you're cobbling together in your 70s or 80s with your kids when, that emotional fatigue can set in. And that Medicaid nursing home, as bad as they may or may not be, sometimes they're just regular nursing homes, not saying anything bad about them. But that Medicaid nursing home, with all its pros and cons, might look more appealing than it really should.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, you know, thank you for checking out our video. Drew and I, we do videos like this all the time, and we have plans that could fit everybody's needs. And we've been doing this, gosh, we both have economic degrees, and we've been doing in this space. I've been doing it since 1999. So we've run across all sorts of situations. So we can definitely help you kind of noodle through, your individual plan. And, you got anything to say, Drew,
Yeah, no,
to
I
wrap it
thank
up?
everybody for watching. Again, if you're dealing with this with a parent right now, or might be dealing with it, and you're having all these kinds of thoughts, it's just normal. It's a stressful situation. So we appreciate y'all watching. We're LTC Tree, and just give us a call or contact us at the link below if you have any questions for us.